should eat, yeah, plant-based foods. Now, obviously, it's going to be tailored to people based on their specific allergies. But for the most part, definitely not low fat. The solid weight of your brain is 60% fat. So you've got to constantly hydrate it because your brain is 80% water, but the solid weight is 60% fat. You got to be hydrating it, and you've got to be eating the right fats. So things like nuts and avocados, seeds, things like that. Lots of plant-based foods that are going to give you the antioxidants you need. Berries have a special property that actually act like little Pac-Men and clean up debris in the brain, believe it or not. And I don't care if you're vegan or you're a caveman. You've got to be getting enough protein to increase focus, balance blood sugar, and increase the hormones of metabolism. So if you're a vegan, just make sure you're getting the right balance. You're not just eating a bunch of carbs like I talked about, like pasta, rice, potatoes, donuts. That's not going to help you just because you cut out animal protein.
Right, right. Now, what do you think about, all of the products, all of the soy-based products that are, quote, meat replacements that a lot of people have turned to? What's your feeling on those?
Okay, I don't like processed meats. The processed fake meats. I think that they're horrible. Most of them have a ton of chemicals in them. We have overdone soy in our country, and that's why people are starting to see so much problems. The main thing people need to get rid of is the soy milk. It's got way too much sugar, and you drink it in large amounts. That's one of the problems. But the other problem is we have soy-based products and soy oil, which is a horrible oil, in almost everything that's processed. So that's where we're seeing so much trouble with soy. If you get rid of those things, and if you're a vegan and you're eating some organic tofu, which is fermented, that's not such a problem. Okay. So if you're just don't overdo it. But
Right.
if you're eating some organic fermented tofu, that's not a problem. Also, so make it, try to make your source organic. But the problem is we have most of the soy in our country is GMO and it's cheap quality. So the oils, things like that, that's what you want to avoid. But the vegans I know who are the healthiest are the people who eat a heavily raw diet. So my friend Jenny Ross, who you probably know from the Daniel Plan,
Yes.
she's awesome. I mean, her raw food, I've taken cooking lessons or non-cooking lessons, whatever you want to call them, from her. And I eat a heavily, probably minimum 70% of my diet is raw. And it tastes amazing. And those are the vegans that I know who are super healthy.
Yeah, and by the way, for everybody, I interviewed Jenny Ross. She is one of our The Real Dish interviewees, and you can hear her interview. I believe it's episode 11. You can check that out at therealdish.com. So yes, and I think the whole idea of staying sustainable, staying as plant forward as possible, really just applies to everybody, no matter what philosophy, like you said, you practice. Um, you know, here's here's the thing that I always struggle with. So I went through a period of time personally, and I'm just going to give a personal story. So I went through a period of time where I went vegetarian and then I went vegan. And I tell you, it was let's just say I struggled through that period a lot. And there was a lot of brain fog.
Yes.
And I came to understand it's because I was eating way too many carbohydrates, like especially refined carbohydrates. And this
Right.
is before I knew what I know and I practice and teach now. But how do you reach those people that, really want to almost like follow a fad versus really doing it for the nutrition reasons? They want to say I'm a vegan, and I hear that all
Right.
the time, but they're not necessarily doing it the right way. What would be a good way for them to redirect? Is that something that you address with
Well,
the
yeah,
survey that you do?
I really try to. Here, we see people from all over the world. So we see whatever, we see every philosophy there is, every religion, everything. And so, it's a delicate balance. I was vegan as well. And I was never, vegans are going to get mad when I say this. I was never sicker. Because and I know part of it is one diet just doesn't fit everybody.
Hmm.
Now, I don't do well on a high protein diet either. I just don't. So for me, it was middle of the road, and it was also understanding. And part of it's because I'm an athlete and I push it pretty hard. So trying to eat strictly super clean, healthy, plant-based foods, and I wasn't getting enough. I was trying to fill that gap with, rice and the same thing all of our patients do, pasta, and it was making me sick. So I needed some sort of protein in there, and it just wasn't cutting it for me. Now, I know vegans who just are vibrant and healthy, and that works for them. And I think that's great. I don't think there's one philosophy. And people get mad when I say this. They send me hate mail, and that's okay. I don't actually, my goal is not to be popular, it's to tell the truth and to help people get well. And here's the reality. I see food fights that make political debates look like kindergarten play dates. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen because your body doesn't care about your food philosophy. Now, if it is, your body just needs what it needs. Now, if that is because of your values, we completely respect that. We are going to work with you to make your program work the best. But I'm going to tell you the truth. So you might not like what I have to say. If you're going to be vegan, you need to know the truth. You can't just fill your basket with a bunch of garbage just because it doesn't have meat in it and think you're going to get healthy. That doesn't work like that.
Right, right.
But eating
No,
too much protein is not healthy either.
I'm with you on that totally. And this by no means is the Bash the Vegan show at all. Just so that
Absolutely
neither one
not.
of us
It's
gets the
also
hate mail on that.
no, I don't. Like I said, I'm not invested in a food philosophy. I'm invested in your health, and I will help you no matter where you're coming from. Eating too much protein is animal protein, definitely not healthy for you either. It creates oxidative stress.
Can I
That's
say
that's the science. That's not me talking.
can I say amen?
So that's just a fact. If you eat too much at one time, we tell people take it in small doses, like medicine.
Oh, uh-oh. Hello?
Oh, there she is. Uh-oh, did we get lost?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. You're back. I think
Okay, there you are.
okay, there we are. That's okay.
So I don't know.
We can cut
Are
that.
you? We're pre-recording, right?
Yeah, we can cut that and we can edit back, so no
Okay.
problem.
Okay.
Why don't we, do you mind just kind of maybe rewinding about 20 seconds ago what you were saying?
Sure. So I think what I was saying is, where did I leave off? So we don't care about your food philosophy. Is that where you want me
Yeah,
to start?
yeah, sure.
Okay. So the truth is, we don't really care about your food philosophy, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. What I mean is we're invested in your health. So we will respect your philosophy and look at your numbers and make it work for you. And the truth is that, we're not, this isn't about going against vegans because the truth is eating too much protein is also not good for you. So the science actually shows that eating too much protein at one time creates oxidative stress. So we tell people to take it in small doses, like medicine. So if you took too much medicine at once, it would make you sick.
Hmm.
So you want to think of small amounts, and that's why we tell people 70% plant-based foods. And the truth is, out of the protein, the 30% protein, not all of it needs to be animal-based. So like in the morning, I have a smoothie with plant-based protein powder. So I don't get that much, animal protein in my diet, and the animal protein that we do get is very high quality.
Hmm. So are you recommending mostly, if you're going to do that, do lean meats or what are your favorite types of animal-based protein if you
It's not so much about being lean, it's about being natural.
hmm,
So it's about being grass-fed, hormone-free, antibiotic-free, basically free range. I literally order bison where they run that they're running during the day. When you get it, literally it's purple because there's so little fat in it. Now it's that kind of fat, the palmitic acid, that is bad for people that's linked to heart disease. So by eating that type of free range meat as opposed to industrial meat, you're radically cutting the palmitic acid. If you look at a New York steak that's industrial raised compared to a New York steak from a bison that is free range, one looks pink with a bunch of white lines in it, that's the fat. The other one's dark purple with like hardly any fat in it.
right. So it's kind of like wild caught versus farm raised
Right.
salmon, for example, where the color is
Exactly.
completely different. So
Right.
that's great advice. So aside from the food and aside from exercise, which we know is awesome for your brain health too, what about the actual sleep piece?
Yeah.
Because I think we are a society that just feels like we have to go, go, go. But at the end of the day, we do need to shut down. We're not like computers. We do need to shut down and reboot and recharge. So, what is your philosophy on sleep?
So here's the thing. If you want to go faster, you need to go slower to get more done.
Hmm.
So you can get more done by sleeping longer. In fact, the studies show, we have numerous studies, and actually most of them are on our website. When you sleep, it washes your brain. Literally, that's when the debris is cleaned out of your brain when you sleep. Also, really interesting study done. Like I said, I practice martial arts, so I'm always reading stuff about adrenaline response. And I was attacked when I was 15 walking to high school. So I'm a huge advocate of women's self defense. I was assaulted on the street. So as a result, I read these crazy books. People are always like, why are you reading books like about the military or whatever? But they talk about adrenaline response and how they train soldiers. And one of the books I read by Lieutenant Dave Grossman, basically what they did a study on soldiers and target practice. When soldiers slept 7 hours, they hit the target 98% of the time. When they slept 6 hours, 1 hour less, they hit it 50% of the time.
Hmm.
When they slept 5 hours, it dropped radically. By the time they got to 4 hours, it was 15% of the time. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want a soldier carrying an assault rifle who's sleeping, who's
No
hitting his target 15% of the
joke.
time.
No joke.
So yeah, it's radically different. And but the other part, the other piece is hydration, believe it or not. So sleep and hydration, doing those two simple things that really take very little energy, in fact, no energy to sleep. Um, you're going to get more out of your day. You're going to accomplish more, be more focused. And did you know you increase your power? Not just your physical power, but your brain power and concentration simply by being hydrated. You increase your power 19%.
That's amazing. So, and I am a big advocate and I talk a lot about hydration. Usually people think they're hungry, but they're actually thirsty. So,
Right.
think
And it's
about
not just
that.
about the hunger. People are always like, oh, I should drink because of hunger. You will perform better and increase your physical power, including aerobic capacity, endurance, brain function, everything, 19%.
So, get that water, guys. Get that water
Yep.
going. You don't need those sugary energy drinks by all
Oh,
means.
dear Lord, no.
So I have to ask you, and thank you for sharing your story about being attacked and basically creating a positive out of that because now you're a fierce warrior. I mean, what happens if people just have not been raised in a place where they've eaten well and they're learning? Is it ever too late? You kind of touched on that, but what can we do to get on course now? What would be your one big piece of advice for somebody who's like, well, I wasn't raised in a household that ate well, or, I haven't been sleeping well, and what do you do to get on course?
Okay, so I'm going to start by saying one of the reasons I'm so intense, people often say, wow, that she's so intense. There's a reason I'm so intense. I grew up in a very poor household, single working mother. I mean, it was not pretty. It was by no means leave it to Beaver. And it was, there's a reason that you grow up fast when you grow up poor. And I grew up eating the worst food on the planet and I paid the price. I was very sick as a kid. I mean, like, not kidding sick. I've had 9 surgeries, had cancer 3 times, gallbladder removed. I could go on and on. But that's not the point. I was very sick and I didn't know that a lot of it was connected to my lifestyle and how I was eating. And then I started over exercising, thinking I could fix it and eat what I wanted if I just exercised a lot. And I made myself even sicker. So I've been through those extremes, and I wrote the Omni Diet not because of our clinics. I wrote it to heal myself. So if I can do it, believe me, anybody can do it. There's a reason I have a warrior mentality, and there's a reason I practice martial arts. One, because I already told you I believe in women's self-defense. The second one is because it's symbolic for me. It's symbolic of overcoming.
Hmm.
It's symbolic of not giving up. I was told I could never practice again. I was, after the last time I had cancer, that my health wouldn't tolerate it. And my husband often jokes the best way to get me to do something is tell me I can't. So
I love
yeah,
it.
it was like I'm